Okay. So obviously due to quarantine, we've all had a lot of time to develop a bunch of hobbies and pastimes to not sink into ourselves and lose track of time and space and everything involved. So one of those things for me has been water propagation of plants. So before we really get into it, I kind of want to talk about why it's one of the best methods of keeping plants. So especially beginning plant keepers, which is me, I don't really know much about plants. I kill every potted plant I get my hands on. One really, really nice pro about having water propagated plants is that there's no concern about soil. Often there are a lot of issues that come with soil, whether it be fungus or diseases. There are certain fungi that like can infect the soil, and then you can have a bunch of like little gnats all around your house. Not fun. No one likes them. So I like avoiding that. You don't have to worry about acidity, dampness of the soil, and a lot of plants can be propagated. Weeds, uh, brush, flower types like morning glory. Morning glories are very easy to propagate. They're invasive too. So if you ever see them and you want to keep them in water, that's great. Bamboo, especially aquatic bamboo, and then water plants like Java fern. So the plants whose propagation I can speak on are pothos, cacti, aeonium, kalanchoes, and then also echeverias. I'm only going to go over cacti and succulents today because why not? So today we're going to be discussing how to propagate these different cacti and different succulents, how to take care of them, and just generally some interesting things that I've found out about them as I've done this for like coming on a year now. So how to propagate succulents. Now, I'm not going to talk about the leaf method. The leaf method is essentially where if you have an echeveria, you break the leaf off and then you leave it in a dark room. Don't touch it, leave it alone, don't mist it, and it should sprout little baby succulents, which is really cute, but I don't have the patience for that. So I will be talking about stem propagation. So here's a general run through. Succulent stems contain something that's known as intercalary meristems. And these meristems are a type of cell that allow stems that allow new stems, new plants and stuff to grow out of the inner nodes of plants. So propagation is possible because of these cells. If it wasn't there, it would just die because it wouldn't grow anything out of the nodes. So general rule of thumb, if you have a non-woody stem for your succulent, you are going to wait for the succulent to callus over. So generally the way callusing looks like, here's an example right here. You're going to see that it dries out. There's absolutely no moisture. If you press it with your fingertips, you will not have no moistness, nothing. And then you place it in a clear container with water in it. It's suggested that you make the cut under leaves that are like about 3 to 4, I can't do numbers, 3 to 4 centimeters. And soon you should see a bunch of baby roots coming out. Make sure that the leaves are not touching the water. If they are, they will rot and it's gross, not a lot of fun, but within a week, you should see little roots coming out. And so this is what a successful propagation looks like. You can see a lot of the roots coming out from underneath. This is an echeveria, and so that's what successful rooting looks like. Unfortunately, not all plants have the same way of rooting. For example, this is an aeonium. It's called a dinner plate aeonium. My friend's mom broke it off of her tree and literally just gave it to me. I popped it in water, and as you can see, you cannot see any roots. So it's not linear. Every succulent will grow in its own way and have its own roots, so don't stress out, which is what I did, so don't stress. And experienced plant keepers recommend doing a lot of batches at once because you don't know how many are going to survive at a time, which is kind of dark and macabre, but that's the world. For cacti, it's essentially the same process as succulents. So here I'm going to take a little example over here. If you look, you will see that there is a brown area. I don't want that to drip on my laptop, but there's a little brown part that comes along with it's like a little notch on every cactus. It's often a sign of overgrowing or like growing out of the pot that it's in. Just snip it at the brown part and pop it in some water. And within a week, you should see results. Like I said, growth is not linear for every single plant. This one does not have any roots coming out, but I'm confident that at some point it will. And this is what a rooted cactus looks like. And then you could see a bunch of the little roots at the bottom. Generally, I've seen a lot of different things for these plants. I've seen little humps growing on the top and then the main plant dying, which is weird because the hump can't live on its own. So I'm still figuring that one out. Generally, what you will see with succulents is that they bulken up in size and they become thicker. So some of the things that I have realized or noticed is that aeoniums, which is this plant, are generally pretty dark in the like dark green leaves, but then when you put them in water, they lose their color, which is very common for succulents, also very similar for cacti. And then in a lot of situations like this echeveria right here, as you can see on the edges are kind of red. They're starting to lose their color because it's propagating in water. So that's an unfortunate thing, but that's just kind of how it is. So just kind of to end it up, it's a very easy way for new plant keepers to kind of get into the hobby without being afraid of having to mess with soil. I hate working with soil. It's helped me a lot with my mental health during quarantine. It's crazy how much taking care of like living things can help you in the long run. Like it's really been very good for me. It's effective, cheap, it's good for space. You can keep it in your bedrooms. And yeah, so give it a shot. It's really not that hard. Break a little piece off of your friend's succulent. I promise you they will not mind. And then pop it in some water and see what happens. Thank you.
I started growing plants too, Raka.
Thank you, as you should. It's so good for you.
Yeah, me too. I propagate a bunch of stuff propagating.